Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for Tuesday, the 30th of April. All right, now things are starting to settle down a bit. And as we sort of just come into the Asian session, don't forget, it's like day two of the Golden Week in Japan. So the Asian session should be somewhat quieter than usual. But in saying that, we do have some major releases here for the day in Asia. We've got the Chinese manufacturing PMI numbers, and that's also released at the exact same time, which is a bit unfortunate for the NBNZ business outlook numbers in New Zealand. And that's been a huge shaker and roller for the Kiwis. So these two data releases, or the manufacturing PMI, let me just sort of concentrate on that first. This is going to be very important for the Aussie and Kiwi, as well as the yuan, or dollar yuan, the offshore yuan. So they're the key pairs to be focusing on in the Asian session. Now, with Japan out, there'll be less liquidity across the Asian session, but it is very early days. And as you can see on the clock here, Tokyo isn't even actually on yet, so it may not impact too much. But the release of the NBNZ business outlook numbers at the same time is going to make Kiwi exceptionally volatile, a lot more volatile than the Aussie on this release. Okay, so, and that's the sort of variable that you have to factor in. We could have strong Chinese numbers, which pushes the short-term Aussie and Kiwi up. We could also have the Kiwi numbers, which are out, and that's a quick 1-2 on the Kiwi, and that spells trouble for a good trade there. If they do line up, well, then we could get a really nice trade, but just be aware there are two variables coming out which could really impact the Kiwi. Now, just having a look at the market conditions before we rip into it. We've got pretty good trending markets. I'll show you the charts in a minute. The currencies... actually, let me just go through this. The core market drivers, still the same. These two events are just simmering in the background, which is good. It enables the markets to get some sort of trending situation happening. I was just going to say, like with the trending markets, okay, these are good trading conditions, but what we've had over the last, 3 or 4 days is a bit of mixed US data. And that's really the currencies. These current technical outlooks haven't changed, but they've really stalled. And what we're waiting for is the next leg. Do all of these pairs here that do have direction, do they continue that direction, or are they going to have a bit of a relief rally? And that's where you're looking for those economic numbers to really match up. So when you come back across to the majors here, yep, as far as I'm concerned, the Aussie's still going down. Euro, it's hard to see there with the way I've blown out the Kiwi chart. Also sterling, if I shrink those in, you'll see that they actually are falling. Dollar yen's going sideways. Dollar CAD pretty much sideways as well, with mixed fundamentals as well as that mixed oil price. Now, what we are looking at, if I just shrink these up a bit, so as you can see, that's what I was talking about with those current trends. Now, we're right in the middle of a situation where, as I said, these currencies, are going lower. They start going sideways. Now we're waiting for the next leg of the puzzle to be released. Does it start to sort of correct a bit, or does the data come lower? And that's what we're waiting for. So these economic numbers, the Chinese manufacturing numbers in particular, is very important for the Kiwi. We do have those NBNZ business outlook numbers. There's potential for a spike higher or a continuation of the downtrend today. So that's where we are. Then if you come through the, if I just flick you back to the MyFX Trading Hub and you have a look here, we do have some really good numbers here out of Germany and the Eurozone to keep an eye on. This data is a little bit more relaxed, okay? Like the GfK consumer sentiment numbers, a good historical number, but it doesn't have the impact like a non-farm payrolls where it gaps and moves all over the place. So it could be a nice trade to get into. And that's followed up 3 hours later by the GDP flash or preliminary flash numbers out of the Eurozone. That's going to be something worth looking at there as well. And then you come down to the last couple of releases. We've got in the North American session, the Canadian GDP numbers. That's going to be tricky. The technical setup and the behaviour of dollar CAD at the moment is all over the shop. I'm not real confident where that thing's going, so it's a little bit tricky. Even though the Bank of Canada were somewhat dovish, supports a higher dollar CAD. Dollar CAD's been drifting lower, even with oil falling. So there's a lot of things there that don't make sense. So I'm going to be having a bit more of a look at dollar CAD before I jump in. Hopefully we get some level of strength, which goes with the current moves for the consumer confidence numbers in the US, and that continues the current trend. That's what I like to see. There could be an opportunity where those US consumer confidence numbers do turn around and we see a bit of a correction in these pairs, okay, opposite to what they're currently doing, but we have to wait and see how those numbers drop. The easiest trade is strong US numbers, which goes with the current US bias, and that should also put these other pairs under pressure once again. And that's the trend. That's the easiest direction. That's the nicest trade. So we've got plenty to work with. As I said, it is Golden Week in Japan, less liquidity, but still plenty of opportunities across the board here. In the Asian session, manufacturing out of China, Kiwi business outlook numbers. Then in the Eurozone, we're looking at clearly the GfK consumer sentiment numbers and the Eurozone flash GDP numbers. And then that North American session is going to come alive with the US consumer confidence and the Canadian GDP. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for me. Have a good trade day. The charts, we need these numbers to drop to work out where these currencies are going, because currently at the moment, as I was saying, I'll just get these charts back up. They're lacking direction. We're lacking momentum. They've lost all the momentum they had from last week. So we need a refresh of momentum. Hopefully it gives us some clear trading opportunities. And I would suspect with the current technicals, like the Aussie is sort of just drifting through its resistance line, but the Kiwi has a nice trend line to work with on the top side, as does the Euro. They're my two best pairs to be looking at this point, Euro and Kiwi from here. Dollar CAD, well, we get super strong GDP numbers, maybe a breakdown through that support line. That could be your third trade there as well. All right, guys, we'll catch you later on. Have a great trade day. We'll see you in the 247 trade zone if you need some help. Cheerio.